All right, welcome back everyone. My name is Pritesh here with Kaizen Crypto, bringing you another video. So I hope you guys are all doing well. Thank you all so much for joining me here today. In this video, Cardano's Charles Hoskinson talks about how crypto should work together. How does that tie into what we saw recently with the Lightning Series Episode 3, talking about the Velvet Fork proposal for Litecoin, how this is going to be able to bring value to the Cardano blockchain. Also, Smash Servers introducing a new way of managing STAKEPOOL metadata. And last up, if you all stay till the very end, sharing with you all an idea of ADA USD, where we could potentially be heading with the price coming up in the short term. So if you all are interested in that type of content, be sure to stay tuned. All right, everyone. So to get things started, Cardano's Charles Hoskinson talking about interoperability between blockchains. So in an article here, he was speaking with the Decrypt Daily podcast, talking about how blockchains need to be at a point where they're able to communicate with each other as opposed to being within their own vicinity. As far as the comparison that he made in this conversation, he compared it to that of Wi-Fi and only being able to connect with that specific brand of devices. So imagine an instance where you had a Samsung phone and the Wi-Fi would only work for your device if you had a Samsung branded router. And the same would be true if you had an iPhone. Imagine having an Apple branded phone that would only work with an Apple branded router. That would be an incredibly cumbersome situation for accessing the internet. So he compared that to what we're seeing right now with cross-chain communication and interoperability between blockchains. I think this is going to be a very relevant topic as we move forward with the progress of this blockchain ecosystem, and especially with Cardano as we start to see functionality like smart contracts being implemented on the blockchain. This is actually a blast from the past. So this picture was taken back in 2014. We can see Charles Hoskinson on the right and Vitalik Buterin on the left, two co-founders of Ethereum. He actually went on to compare the progress of Cardano to that of Ethereum, saying that Ethereum 2.0 right now is in that transition phase to being able to transition from proof of work to proof of stake. So what they're trying to do is figure out how to get this all completed. And he was saying that Cardano is at an advantage because of their slow, methodical approach. Essentially, what this has done is made them the tortoise in the race. Ethereum is the hare, it's got the first mover advantage, but right now they're at a point where they're coming into some real issues in their design and their implementation. Whereas Cardano has taken on the course of the tortoise, a slow and methodical approach. I think that they are gearing up to win this race for a secure and scalable proof-of-stake blockchain protocol. So very interesting to hear his thoughts on that. I did want to go ahead and tie into this, talking about the Lightning Series Episode 3. So this was a discussion with the Litecoin Foundation talking about a Velvet Fork. So some of the things that were mentioned in this discussion were, what is a Velvet Fork? They talk about NEPA-POWs, which stands for Non-Interactive Proof of Works. They're talking about how this is going to bring value to the Litecoin and to the Cardano blockchain. So what I wanted to do is go ahead and play a clip. I went ahead and condensed this hour-long conversation down into a 5-minute clip to provide as much value as possible. So before we go ahead and get into this clip, I wanted to go ahead and say a big thank you to our sponsor for today's video. Our sponsor for today's video is VincePool. So VincePool is a Cardano stake pool operator who has been operating since the incentivized testnet. They have just recently crossed over 100 blocks on the Cardano mainnet. They've been doing incredible things, and I know that they are going to be working hard to bring in some amazing rewards for their delegators. With the K parameter about to hit 500 on December 6th, looking for small community stake pools that provide value to the community, I would recommend Vince Stake Pool if you were looking for an attractive stake pool to delegate to. So thank you so much to VincePool for sponsoring today's video. Let's go ahead and take a look at this clip from the Lightning Series Episode 3.
So maybe we can start with the idea of a Velvet Fork because it's a kind of more general idea, even though we introduced this term in the context of NEPA-POWs in our paper on non-interactive proofs of work, which is what NEPA-POW stands for. It's a more general technique. It can be used for adopting new features through a fork that is, let's say, softer than a soft fork. This is why we call it a Velvet Fork. So this technique, what it says is basically, okay, instead of doing a soft fork or a hard fork, where you do break some compatibility in a sense, maybe this is undesired, and many communities have expressed that they don't like hard forks or they don't like soft forks. So maybe we can do it through something simpler. And one of the main reasons to that is that it's often difficult to convince the mining community to adopt a feature by supermajority. So if we can remove that requirement and have the miners adopt a feature without requiring the majority or even without requiring the supermajority or even the majority of miners to agree to that, that would be great, right? So the idea is, or that's a question, whether certain features can be adopted by changing the consensus in a way that is both backwards and forwards compatible. That answers, I hope, your question of whether velvet forks have been used. They have been used for different things, including the adoption of NepoPows. And there's a few chains where NepoPows have been adopted. Some of them have adopted it from their beginning. For example, Ergo is one of those blockchains. Ergo is a proof of work blockchain that supports NepoPows from the beginning. And then as experiments, we've also velvet forked certain chains to trial out the ability to introduce NepoPows retroactively. So I think that covers, I hope, the question on what velvet forks are. But maybe we can, before we talk about which side of the chains this will be implemented in, maybe we can talk a little bit about NepoPows first, just to bring things into context.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I think one of the things about NepoPows, at least the way I was trying to explain it, I think last night through an analogy, was that basically if you have a book, instead of having to read the entire book, you're basically looking at the equivalent of Cliff Notes and coming to the same, same ending.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Or you can say you're looking at the table of contents, and then the level of superblock that you're interested in is what level of the table of contents you're looking at, right? So if you're looking just at chapter titles, this is like a very high level superblock. But then if you look at sections within chapters, their titles, that's like a lower level superblock. And then if you look at subsections, this gives you another layer. And this really just separates the book into stages. And you don't have to read the actual text itself, which would be the proof of work itself. The second big benefit that I see, and this will also, I think, have an economic impact, is it will make Litecoin a part of a broader ecosystem of chains that have opted in for interoperability between each other. And I haven't really touched on that, but if we interlink a chain like Litecoin in the manner that I have explained by introducing these pointers and allowing NepoPows, these proofs can be used to transfer information from one chain to another. Because they are so short and so lightweight, you can take an NepoPow, a synchronization piece of information, and you can post it on another chain. So one example is if you want to transfer value from Litecoin to, let's say, Cardano or some other blockchain that has support for smart contracts, the smart contract itself can function as a SuperLite node for the Litecoin network. So these smart contracts that run on a remote chain, and let's maybe be a little bit more specific here and say we want to transfer some value from Litecoin to Cardano or some information from Litecoin to Cardano. What one would do is they would run a smart contract on Cardano, they would make a transaction within Litecoin, and then they would produce an NepoPow attesting to the fact that this transaction really took place and has been confirmed within Litecoin. And that is the NepoPow, which is then transferred and submitted to the Cardano smart contract. And the contract over there can read that proof and verify and say, okay, this is a Litecoin transaction. It looks good. And it's part of the current longest Litecoin chain without having to submit the whole Litecoin chain to the Cardano network and without requiring the Cardano miners to monitor the Litecoin network. So it's really an opt-in mechanism towards interoperability.
Very interesting to see the value that is going to be brought with something like a Velvet fork to both Litecoin and the Cardano blockchain if this is implemented successfully. So looking forward to the developments regarding that. Next up, I wanted to share with you all some details regarding Smash servers. So introducing a new way of managing stake pool metadata. So what is a Smash server? Essentially, stake pools are going to contain a series of metadata, including owner details, the pool name, the pool ticker, a website homepage, and a short description. Now, this data is not necessarily stored on the blockchain, and it's important to be able to have this accessible to all users of the Cardano network so that these stake pools are visible and the information that is related to these pools can be easily accessed. So in this article from IOHK, they actually went through and talked about what this Smash server implementation is going to do in regards to metadata for these stake pools. I did want to go ahead and take a look at an article on docs.cardano.org. So this is some documentation that goes into more detail regarding stake pool metadata management. So a Smash server can aggregate stake pool metadata, fetch it, and store it in a semi-centralized environment. The server is typically owned by a specific operator who is then responsible for its maintenance and can curate and review stake pool metadata. One thing that's important to note is that this code is all open source, so anybody can deploy it and become an operator. So in due course, Daedalus will allow users to configure any server of their choice and browse custom stake pool lists. So this is going to be very important as we march towards this multi-delegation feature. I know I recently filled out a survey of the Daedalus wallet, and multi-delegation was one of those features that I think would benefit many users, especially now we're going to see the K parameter increase to 500. A lot of these larger stake pools are going to be at a point where they're saturated. So having a curated list of stake pools and being able to access the data that's related to these pools using something like a Smash server is going to be very important for being able to access this type of data. So I think this is important, and I think this implementation is going to be very useful, and especially as more people are able to implement this and run it on their own servers, it's going to make this implementation that much more decentralized. So the first generation of Smash is initially deployed by IOHK, and it's used in the Daedalus Delegation Center, where it provides the ability to view available stake pools with verified names, ticker symbols, and websites. Now, what are some of the things that can be done by running a Smash server? So for instance, there are a lot of stake pools that are actually running with duplicate tickers. So a lot of these larger stake pools have unfortunately come under the instance where their pool ticker has been copied. Even though a lot of these stake pool operators have copyright claims on their brand, even if they have a trademark, it's unfortunate to see that some nefarious actors are still at a point where they can actually go ahead and spin off their own pool using that same ticker name. So something like a Smash server would prevent this type of malicious activity. So you are actually able to delist a stake pool, and some of the claims here being made would be, let's say if you were producing illegal or malicious content or impersonating another stake pool, or let's say there was a previous claim where that stake pool ticker was already being used, or maybe that pool ticker was inappropriate or was under some type of intellectual property rights violation. So there are a lot of things that would be valuable with an implementation of a Smash server, and I think this is going to be great as far as metadata and being able to see the transparency of a lot of these stake pools. So really interesting to see that development. And last up, for those of you all who have stayed till the very end, thank you all so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy this video here today, please be sure to drop a like for me. It definitely does help support the channel. If you want to stay up to date with relevant Cardano news and informative content, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I wanted to go ahead and share with you all an idea from the Wolf of all streets. So he posted a chart regarding ADA USD. I think this is a very interesting idea. As we can see here, we broke out of this ascending triangle. So what he's saying is that he's looking for a retest basically after this breakout in order to go long, and looking at a price target here of about 15.5 cents. So this is going to be confluent with a previous level of resistance. This is exactly where we got rejected this last time we had this big run up. But very interesting to see this. Definitely some higher lows being set in with the price. And we can see this move happening on some significant volume. So these bulls are definitely stepping in with full force and looking forward to continue this momentum upwards. So let me know what you guys think. I would love to know your thoughts. Where do you guys see the price of ADA coming up in the next month, the next year, or the next decade? Let me know down in the comment section. All right, everyone. Thank you all so much again for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care.